This is not your ABC. This is live KNTV Channel 21. And this is Black Star Still Rising, and I'm your host, Stephen Black Butterfly Carter. But we have a couple of surprises for you today. An encore guest, and I'm going to introduce a little later on. But we have something that we want our fans, our listeners, our viewers to take a vote on. You heard this. Tell me, how do you like this as our opening theme? John, you get a first vote. Which one you gonna vote on?
I'll go with. I'm gonna call them dongs. I don't know what to call them. Yeah, I'm going with the first one.
This is my guest for encore performance. This is going to be John Adams. We're going to talk a little bit more about him and his being founder of the Bronzeville Trail. But you're going to give me all the correct information. But before I do what I have to do, want to do, and that's give shout outs to all the people that make this possible, starting with Darius Clemens, the executive director of KNTV, who has been the encouragement and the person that has made our show possible and invited community-related shows, community-based shows and projects to KNTV. And right after Darius comes our studio producers, and those are Imani Payne and Rocio Santos, who make this possible. And we also have our other producers, associate producers, that's Doc Mike Washington and Ellis Taylor. But more importantly, let me give this main shout out to Philip Jackson, the founder, the late founder of the Black Star Project, and his successor, the executive director, Gloria Smith, who makes things possible, who sponsors this program, the Black Star Still Rising. Now, this trail is more than just a trail. It's more than talking about a trail. John is going to tell us a little bit and update us on what is happening with the project and the trail. And before we go another step, I know what you can do. He's coming back for another encore performance to keep us updated. John, tell us, catch us up on what's happening with the trail.
Steve, thank you so much for having me back. This is my second episode, if I may, with the Black Star Project. And so I thought I'd begin this segment by just kind of recapping the history of the project, and then certainly spend sufficient time talking about its current status and what's been achieved and accomplished, and even throw something against the wall, predicting when it's going to, see what sticks as to when the trail is actually going to open. So first, the first thing, Stephen, is the amazing, rich Chicago history behind the rail line itself. Literally, this rail line embankment represents the remnants of the old Stockyard line.
And where does it run?
And it runs from Federal and Dearborn.
Okay.
It runs adjacent to Roberts Temple, down 40th Street, 40, and it goes all the way east to Lake Park. Okay. Now, since the time that the CTA stopped operating and other commercial and industrial trains stopped operating on the rail line, a number of the bridges have come down, okay? So now you have a number of disconnected portions of embankment. There's some portions that are connected by bridges, but the vast majority of bridges are no longer there. And probably the two most interesting bridges that I like to remind people is, one, there was a bridge over King Drive.
Yes, yes. Can I tell you this? Can I give you a little bit? Can I just
Sure,
interject a
please,
little background?
please.
One, in grammar school at Corpus Christi, we used to take field trips from Corpus Christi at 49th and South Park then to the stockyards and watch them slaughter the animals coming in. But I have
my
to
gosh.
interject another part too.
Oh my gosh.
My grandfather
Yes.
worked in the stockyards probably in about 1914 to about 1919 when he died in the
Yes.
Great Flu epidemic.
Okay.
So the stockyards,
Yeah.
that embankment, we used to take the train at Indiana. That's where we would jump on
Okay.
the rail going.
Sure. That's
and
right.
that's what's happened over the years. But tell us more about that.
Yeah. So literally, there were a number of independent stockyards that fed Union soldiers too.
Okay.
Back during the Civil War, in 1865, those independent stockyards came together to form the Chicago Union Stockyards. And for the vast majority of my life, I thought union meant labor union.
And it wasn't.
It did not. It just meant a partnership
Okay.
union
Okay.
coming together to form the Chicago Union Stockyards, 1865. They petitioned the city, along with the railroads, to lay a rail, 4-mile rail line
Okay.
from the lakefront to the stockyards, 4 miles at grade level. And the city said, let's do it. And literally, Steve, it's that 4-mile rail line at grade level that propelled Chicago to be known as meat processing capital of the world.
Are you aware, too, that at that base, at the railroad base next to the lake, it was a Confederate prison camp during the Civil War?
Wow. I've heard that because I've
Yes.
heard it. I heard the stockyards fed them too.
Yes.
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 Their meats also came from the stockyards. So it's people need to understand that one of the pillar industries in this city that built Chicago to the great metropolis that it is today is meat processing. And think of it not just in terms of the meats. Think about it in terms of also the ancillary services that spun and grew exponentially as a result of stockyards and meat processing. Legal services, banking, accounting, auditing,
like
insurance,
CPAs?
Precisely.
This is a CPA. I'm giving a little
that
shout
is-
out, right?
Yeah, and that is not colored people accounting either. So
You know what?
it's a pillar industry.
Folks don't know that part of what you are doing and talking about is because you are Chicago.
Yeah.
Tell us a little
Very
bit.
much.
Share. They need to know your background in Chicago. Where'd you go to school?
Sure.
What neighborhoods did you live in?
Okay. So I was born and raised on the corner of 50th and Indiana.
Oh.
All I know is it was called Merchants Building.
Right down the street.
And
from the show. Okay.
and my father was a janitor there.
Okay.
We attended Mass at Corpus Christi.
Hey,
From
course.
kindergarten through elementary school, I was in
Okay.
Corpus Christi. High school, Hales Franciscan High
Hails
School.
Francis before Corpus, after Corpus.
After
Christi.
Corpus Christi.
Okay.
But I like to tell people this part of my Bronzeville story,
Yes.
if I may, that after Mass on Sundays, we would go to a live poetry place on 51st Street, right near the Green Line L stop.
I know you're talking about.
And we'd go in there, and my parents would pick out a chicken, a live chicken, right? And
That
we
was
know
supper.
we know what happens to live chickens. And of course, those days, at least in Bronzeville,
Yeah, right.
are no longer there. And then the second fascinating thing that I remember is going to Washington Park with my parents to hear Dick Gregory,
Oh.
the 300-pound plus Dick Gregory,
Yes,
pontificate
yes,
about
yes.
civil rights.
Yeah.
So-
You needed to know that his involvement with this trail is somebody who has been there
Yes.
and saw and all of these that transpiring and developing. Go ahead, John. Tell us
Yeah.
some more about what's happening. A little bit of history about
Sure.
it, please.
Sure. So the rail line was extremely successful, grade level, but too many people were being killed, Steve. So in 1903, the city council voted that a number of rail lines in Chicago needed to run on embankments.
Okay.
They need to be elevated.
Okay.
So in our case, the rail line, the Stockyard line, began to run on an elevated embankment in 1907.
Okay.
Um,
7. Okay.
It was still extremely popular. It was primarily industrial and commercial.
Okay.
But people would try to ride that line because it circled the stockyards. And that was like a field trip, to go see the stockyards and go past the Armour plant, the Swift plant. I mean, all of the big name meat processing and packing companies that, we still know today. That provide
That's what
produce.
took my grandfather to work. He's at Bowen, right at the station there.
Oh,
at
my God.
400 East Bowen.
Yes. Yes. And so a bit of a sidebar as you talk about your grandfather right at Bowen. We have a relationship with Circuit Court Judge Stanley Hill, who wrote a book about the embankment. And they grew up calling it the L Wall. He talked about going up there, playing on it as a kid with his buddies. So this was a living, breathing asset of the city of Chicago. The CTA began to run a line on it called the Kenwood L line in 1947, and then that line ceased in 1957, and so it was abandoned essentially by the CTA and the city. There was still some industrial and commercial use on it, but by 1971,
coal cars running.
By the late 60s for sure, there wasn't any activity on it, and then the city, quickly removed some of the bridges. Another fascinating spot to just imagine that there was a bridge is the one that extended from Cottage Grove to Drexel.
Okay. Yes.
That was also connected, a bridge because the train went all the way to Lake Park.
Church was right there.
That's right.
All these.
That's right. Precisely.
A lot of history there.
Tremendous history. And so, Steve, as we proceeded with the project, one of the things that we learned was how it coincided with the migration story.
Okay.
That rural African Americans came to Chicago. They
got off the train at 12th Street.
Right.
Started walking south.
And then when they got to Bronzeville, started walking to the stockyard. And Steve, they were hired on the spot.
Yeah. Because they had background in slaughtering.
You're being polite.
They weren't strike breakers.
No.
Like they've been portrayed as strike. They had skill sets.
Yeah.
Is that DEI? Because they came there with skill sets, right?
There was no DEI.
Okay.
Steve, I grew up, we used to joke, we knew how to cut up a pig from the rooter
to the tutor.
See, I didn't have to finish it. You do it, right? But when I grew up, that was like a joke.
Yes.
No, it was real. Right?
And we used to see the livestock. I lived at 63rd and South Park, and they would turn coming down South Chicago, down King Drive. Wow. They would make the turn at 63rd Street, go over to Ashland, I think, or State.
Okay.
And that's how they came into the city, going to the stockyards.
Wow.
When they got to 43rd or Root Street, they would head west and get to the stockyards.
Wow, man, it's just rich.
We would smell them coming.
Yeah, of course.
Right.
Yeah, just rich history, and so yes, our people knew how to slaughter livestock. Yes. They lived on farms, plantations, sharecropping. So they were hired on the spot. And
because of skill sets.
Because of skill sets. Okay. That's right. So that's the history that attracted us to the migration story. And so as we began to do the research, the Bronzeville Trail Task Force was formed incorporated in September 2020.
2020. Okay.
2020. And
from that point,
I'm the founder and currently the executive director.
Okay.
I was hired as executive director for $1 a year. I'm still waiting, Steve, for the board to pony up that dollar, right?
Okay.
That's right. Know any good lawyers? But now, now I'm executive director full time, and I just could be delighted.
You Lake folks just coming in. This is John Adams, the executive director, and he's going to tell you more about the history of this program and how you can be in. Before we get into pencil and paper, write this down.
Yes.
How can folks get involved,
engaged
with
a number of different ways, Steve. They can certainly send me an email at Bronzeville Trail at gmail.com. That's Bronzeville, like the community, trail at gmail.com. I can be reached on our business line, 773-726-7900. And we're always looking for volunteers or anyone who just simply would like to know more about the project and see an opportunity for themselves.
We're going to repeat that one more time. If you haven't written it down, get the pencil and paper. We'll be prepared to write that down again. We've got a lot to cover in a short
Sure.
time. I'm going to let you lead the way
Sure.
in this and tell
Okay.
us what we can,
Okay.
what you want our audience to glean.
All right. So first and foremost, Steve, the audience needs to understand that these rail to trail projects have proliferated in this country for certainly a good 40 years.
Money being put into them.
Yes.
Okay.
And the reason money goes into them, there's a variety of all good reasons. One, they're health initiatives. So recreation is sorely needed for all of us.
Are there some in other parts of the city, but besides Bronzeville?
Well,
Tell me.
trails are proliferating all over Chicago,
Okay.
but clearly the poster child would be the Bloomingdale 606 Trail
Okay.
on the north side of Chicago,
Okay.
built on an embankment, so very similar kind of characteristics as the Bronzeville Trail. But yeah, so that's the first thing, that they are health initiatives. And the fact that the soil is contaminated lends itself to the fact also it's a health initiative.
After all these years, it's
to
still
do the remediation.
contaminated. Okay.
That's right. Because locomotives have ran on them, they've dropped, the locomotives would drop, oils,
yes, okay.
gas, chemicals, etc. And so it's almost a matter of law that the soil is contaminated, but they do the studies to bear out the fact that there's contamination. And that contamination is emanating poor air quality
Okay.
that hovers over the embankment and the surrounding community. So that's the first thing. And so sort of the bottom line, if I may, is it's a $100 million project, and we want to make sure that businesses in Bronzeville are able to participate, women-owned businesses, minority-owned businesses, anyone who has goods or services to offer. We want them to be a part of the process of building what's going to prove to be the most transformative and catalytic project in the history of Bronzeville.
So this economic development and all the enhancements coming from that,
Yes.
it's not just a recreational trail,
Yeah.
which is a great thing in itself,
Right.
but it's going to bring monies, jobs, etc.,
Yes,
into the
precisely.
community.
Precisely, and that's why every unit of government is all over trail projects, all over the country. St. Louis, Milwaukee, Detroit. I mean, just everywhere, right? Rural areas, because they have tremendous ROI, which is return on investment.
Okay.
And so the former commissioner of the Department of Planning told us that the Bronzeville Trail is going to induce over $1 billion of investment.
Is that with a B?
In Bronzeville.
Wait, is that a B
With
or
a
an
big
A?
B. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, and so and do so many ancillary services, housing, food shops, not just bicycle repair shops.
Okay.
I mean, it's a magnet. It's going to
And
attract
sustainable
people.
too, I would assume. Too.
Sustainable, and these trail projects are also transportation projects. So I heard a fascinating story in Detroit where people literally take one of their trails to go to church. And so you just, right? So the people at Grant, believe me, there'll be some people.
Grant Church,
yeah,
okay.
there'll be some people who'll take the Bronzeville Trail to get to church on Sunday.
Okay, they'll be the healthiest people too. won't they?
Okay, yeah. And so for a lot of reasons, keep in mind that this is a municipal asset that's been abandoned for practically 70 years.
So it's more than just a trail. Talk about some of the other things that are programmatic
Yes.
with your program.
Sure, be happy to. So the very first thing, and we touched on it, is we launched what we call the Bronzeville Trail History Project.
Okay.
We launched that in December of 2022, and in March of 2024, we had a symposium that talked about the history of the stockyards, its impact, the impact of the meat processing industry on the black community, Parker House Sausage, i.e.
Parker House Sausage.
That's right, and other ancillary businesses that process meat, moo and oink, right? And
right in the community,
right there.
Coming on back, coming
that's
back.
right.
Okay.
So that's one, the Bronzeville Trail History Project, and I'd like to go into more detail at another time. So I could talk about two other projects.
Go ahead, please.
One is a partnership we have with Illinois Tech. And for 7 consecutive semesters, Steve, IIT, Illinois Tech, has taught a course called the Bronzeville Trail. That's for over 3 years. They've taught a course, an applied science course, through their iPro curricula called the Bronzeville Trail.
And it's a good thing they got their own funding, right?
Yes. Okay, for sure. But that course spun a youth workforce development program that we sponsor called the Bronzeville Trail Design Studio. And this past summer, we had our first class, all total about 27 young people registered between the ages of 16 and 24.
It's sustainable
workforce development. We're going to do it every summer.
Okay, how does, I'm a parent, how do I get my kid or niece, nephew?
So just connect with us again on the website, www.bronzevilletrail.org, email bronzevilletrail@gmail.com, or please feel free to call me anytime, 773-726-7900. The last initiative, so I mentioned 2, the Bronzeville Trail History Project, and the, I'll call it an ACE program for short. ACE stands for Architecture, Construction, and Engineering. So that's the purpose of our Summer Design Studio program. It's simply to get young people interested in those as a career, and also, if not matriculate in college, there are plenty of union apprenticeship programs that you can have an affordable lifestyle, have a family, raise a family, etc. in architecture, construction, or engineering. The last, Steve, the last is we learned that Marshall Major Taylor.
Oh, I was hoping you were going to mention that. Go ahead.
Yeah.
One of the greatest athletes in the world. Go ahead.
Absolutely. Yes. Marshall Major Taylor was a cyclist, and in 1899, he won a sprint championship in Montreal, thus becoming the first African-American international sports champion.
And considered the fastest man in the world.
Fastest man in the world. Endured everything you can imagine during Jim Crow. Retired in approximately 1910, came back for a short stint. But in the early 1900s, Marshall Major Taylor was the wealthiest black athlete in the world.
Wow.
And made more money than black baseball players.
And you can't erase that history, can you?
No, not at all.
We're not going to let it be erased.
Well documented. You can go to YouTube, plenty of documentaries about Marshall. Anyway, he moved to Chicago in 1930. He raced in Garfield Park here in Chicago.
In Garfield Park?
Yeah, and won the Negro Championship race there. But he lived in Wabash YMCA.
On 38th and Wabash.
We learned that. We learned that piece of history. Took ill. He was in his early to mid 50s. 1932, went to Providence Hospital, then went to Cook County Hospital, where he made his transition. And he initially was buried in a pauper grave. Frank Schwinn and some other Schwinn Bicycle and some other professional cyclists paid to have his body exhumed, and he was moved to the Memorial Garden in Mount Glenwood Cemetery in 1948. So, so as we learned about Marshall Major Taylor, we just thought civic recognition was long past due. And our organization, Bronzeville Trail Task Force, wrote the legislation to get Marshall Major Taylor the Congressional Gold Medal.
That means we have to tell our story, even in writing legislation, so it gets on the books.
Precisely. Thanks be to God, and you just can't make this up. Jonathan Jackson, Congressman Jackson, used to ride with the Major Taylor Cycling Club of Chicago, but you just can't make it up. So he was familiar with Major's story, and he filed the bill in the last session of Congress. Then the presidential race started, so the bill didn't have enough votes to pass the House and the Senate, and he refiled the bill this past June in this current session of Congress to get Major the Congressional Gold Medal.
Can I tell you where I'm looking for some volunteers?
Sure.
I'm looking for some volunteers from KA Psi.
Yes.
The Divine Nine. This is my Divine Nine brother, who was going to get those campers
Yes.
involved. And I was say, oh my good, what do I'm going to get my Alpha brothers. I'm expecting Divine Nine to
Yes.
take a leadership role,
Yeah.
as they are in so many fields. And I'm
Yes.
so glad to have my Capper brother next to me.
Yeah.
And he's kind of proud to have this brother next to him.
That's right.
But we're looking for
That's right.
volunteers. Give them the number again.
773-726-7900. Call anytime. Email bronzevilletrail@gmail.com. And the website is www.bronzevilletrail.org.
Give our audience a few takeaways in
Sure.
this short period of time we have.
Okay. So, number one, it's no longer a matter of if this is going to happen, but a matter of when. The city has committed $5 million
Can't take
to
it back,
activate
huh?
the project.
They committed?
The plan to do the urban planning of the trail.
Okay.
That contract was let,
Basically,
and
things
we've
that happen.
already started that.
Okay.
The county has committed money to do a study on the remediation, which is getting rid of the contaminated soils and anything else that's contaminated. And so we certainly want to give express our appreciation to Alderman Robinson, Alderman Dow, who are the dynamos behind the city's commitment to the project, and Cook County Board President Tony Preckwinkle, former alderman of the 4th Ward, where the rail line runs through her former
And they're
ward.
going to try to make sure that no money is snatched back so you can go ahead with this commitment.
And these are all local dollars. So praise God, there's no federal dollars involved. So at least up to this point, to get us through 2028, these are all local dollars, county and city dollars.
Can we do this before we leave?
Sure,
Put your
absolutely.
hand up here. Tell our audience, live, thank you for coming out today. Remember John Adams and the trail. Get your supporters out. Remember those phone numbers. Thank you.
Thank you.
You're
Thank you
coming
for having
back.
me back.
You're
Love to
coming
come back.
Okay.
Thank you, see you.